Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Hamlet City Council meeting this evening. It's good to see such a crowd. This time the meeting is called to order, and our first item of business will be Reverend Dan Blair from Fellowship Methodist Church and First Methodist Church to do our invocation tonight. Reverend Blair.
Let us pray. Gracious Father, we thank you for calling us together this night to do the business of this town. We pray, O Lord, your blessings upon it, especially that you would give wisdom and insight to those making decisions. May everything that is done tonight reflect what is best, what is most just, what is most fair. Lead, guide, guard, and direct us, we pray. In this we lift up to you in the powerful name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Council, you have before you tonight the agenda for the meeting, and we have added on item number 7A. Is that on your paper over there? If not, okay. Item number 7A will be added, which is consideration of the FirstHealth Grant Award. That will be added on under 7A. What are your wishes on the adoption of the agenda?
So moved.
Got a motion?
Second.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. All right, thank you. Council, you also have before you the regular minutes from the 12th of July 22 meeting, and you have had an opportunity to see the closed session meetings. What are your wishes on those?
I make a motion we accept it.
Okay, got a motion?
Second.
Got a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Okay, at this time I need to announce that Mr. Martin is not with us due to illness, and Ms. Covington is out of town, and she is on with us on the telephone, so you will occasionally hear her, and that's who's on there. At this time, we'll ask for comments from attendees. If you're here tonight to comment on anything other than what is on the agenda, we would ask you to come forth at this time and make those comments. Okay, if we have no one. All right, we'll move along now to item number 6. Item number 6 is a public hearing. It's a text amendment and a rezoning for FirstHealth of the Carolinas. The building being previously operated as Sand Hills Regional Hospital and located at 1000 West Hamlet Avenue is currently owned by FirstHealth of the Carolinas Incorporated. The owners have buyers that are proposing to transition the facility to a geriatric plus age 55 behavioral health facility. The property consists of 3 properties. They're all different things such as agricultural, business, and what have you. And we're trying to get it all under one zoning. And what they're requesting tonight is updating the definition of the hospital to include services for geriatric patients, individuals of at least age 55 or age or older with behavioral health issues, and rezone the 3 parcels to general business. At this time, I will open the floor for comments and let someone from FirstHealth would like to explain to us what's going on.
Good evening. Thank you for having us here tonight. I'm Mickey Foster. I'm CEO of FirstHealth of the Carolinas. Thank you for taking this on. I think we have a really unique opportunity to take the old Hamlet Sand Hills facility and turn it into a geropsychiatry behavioral health facility for this community. I also want to thank the Planning Board and Zoning Board that saw our proposal of the zoning request a few weeks ago. I also want to thank your city manager, Matt Christian. Matt, I've had a lot of phone calls with Matt the last few weeks. He's been wonderful to work with. I've known him from back in the Mount Gilead days when he was over there. So one of the things that we heard from the Planning and Zoning Committee of Hamlet was it would be, there could be a burden on the public safety. There were some concerns from your police chief about that. That's why the 7A got added. We want to make this successful for the city of Hamlet. So FirstHealth, if this deal were to go through in the zoning and the purchase of the facility, we would offer a $500,000 grant. Our outside counsel has worked on that language with your TC Morphus, with your counsel, so we would offer a $500,000 grant to go to public safety for the city of Hamlet if this were to go through. We want this to be successful for the city of Hamlet, for this region, without any additional burden on your public safety. So we want to make sure that risk is mitigated. The other thing FirstHealth wanted to do, if this were to go through, and I'm going to introduce Nate here, who's the potential buyer of that facility, We are also going to offer a $100,000 grant to Nate and his team for them to use some outside consultants around the behavioral health facility to make them successful. One of the things I love about FirstHealth is we are really committed to partnerships and being good community stewards. So we wanted to help the city of Hamlet out with your public safety concerns. We also want to help Nate and his team out with some extra consulting help to get this proposed behavioral facility off the ground. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the potential buyer. One thing with Nate, he is a Hamlet native. And so I'm going to have Nate come up and kind of explain from his point of view. So Nate, would you join us?
Thank you, Mickey.
Your name, sir?
My name is Nathaniel Peterkin,
Okay.
and if I may read an opening statement.
Yes, sir.
As I mentioned, my name is Nathaniel Peterkin, and I'm a native of this great city of Hamlet. I'm here this evening speaking both as a nearby resident of this area and also representing the executive team of Sand Hills Regional Hospital for the proposed 84-bed, not-for-profit geriatric behavioral health hospital, in which I will serve as the hospital president. And to be clear, geriatrics refers to medical care for older adults, typically 65 years and older. I want to first thank the Hamlet Planning Board for the time they have invested reviewing our zoning amendment request, and to thank them for their unanimous vote of support to move the matter forward to full Hamlet City Council. I'm here to review and highlight the advantages of having a geriatric hospital in Hamlet. Specifically, there's a dire need for geriatric behavioral health care services in the region and throughout North Carolina. This would provide local access for Richmond County residents. This hospital would create at least 130 new jobs for the area. Something I've noticed over my years in the industry is that geriatric population, who many suffer from behavioral health issues, are difficult to place upon hospital discharge. This is where I had my light bulb moment. For quite some time, I would drive past this beautiful 2-story building on Hamlet Avenue that used to be a hospital. Then one day it hit me like a lightning bolt that the well-located vacant building was absolutely a perfect solution to this growing population's problem. The vacant hospital could be used as a specialty hospital to provide behavioral health care services for the geriatric population. I shared my vision with Tim Murchison, a professional colleague who had become a friend over the 40-plus years I've known him. He and I together started thinking through the logistics of working towards creating a healthcare center that would be ideal to serve the growing population of geriatric individuals who suffer from behavioral health conditions such as mood disorders, Alzheimer's, and dementia. Now I would like to speak more specifically about what we will do and who we will serve. Our mission is to serve older adults by improving regional access to geriatric behavioral health services. This is a specialty hospital and will not have an emergency room. We will admit patients from surrounding local hospitals and help them decompress their emergency departments. It is important to understand that patients first need the medical review to ensure they are a candidate for the geriatric facility versus needing acute medical care. I would like to share the following statistics compiled by Horizon Health, which is a software company that provides analytics for managed care organizations. Horizon Health compiled the following data during their study of 48 geriatric inpatient hospital programs, comprised of 10,657 total patients. As I mentioned earlier, it was a study for 48 inpatient programs with just shy of 11,000 patients. The average age for inpatient admissions was 73 years of age. The breakdown as far as gender is 58% female, 42% male. Primary diagnosis upon admission, 32.2% was for mood disorder. The average inpatient stays is 13.9 days. Primary risk to patient while receiving treatment is falls. Second risk to patient while receiving treatment is falls with injury. The Horizon Health study, the data gives us a snapshot of an average patient profile that we can expect to see in geriatric behavioral health hospital. I may be wrong, but it is likely that many members in attendance this evening have a family member or knows someone close who is dealing with caring for someone with mood disorders, Alzheimer's, or dementia, just to name a few conditions. These are pervasive and expanding concerns that we all must face and address as a community. Let's now shift to briefly cover some practical considerations. Timeline for opening is January 2024. Employment, as I previously stated, we will be creating 130 plus jobs. Security measures and resources will include, as a facility, we're licensed to care for geriatric behavioral health patients. We will be surveyed for compliance with regulatory standards that outline key safety features for our patient population. Intake assessments, restraint usage, ligature safety, intake assessments, and safe discharge. This includes continuous surveillance and observation of patients, restricted access as a locked facility, and policies that outline how patients are safely cared for. To receive and maintain our license, to bill Medicare, we will be required to show through site survey visits and regulators our compliance. These are strict and rigorous standards required to receive deemed status by Centers of Medicare and Medicaid Services. The hospital will be staffed with security officers working on site 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with the responsibility of collaborating with hospital staff to monitor, observe, and report on issues as it relates to the safety and security of the hospital, its patients, staff, and the community. Our security officers' role will focus on access control, surveillance, and acting as a visible deterrent with facility security features to further complement this vital component of the hospital. Some of our security features include surveillance cameras, double swinging fire doors, security access passes, doors with pressure switches, card swipe controlled access for elevators, and total access control of the building, including movement within the building. These features help protect the employees and the patients of the hospital. Before I close, I want to share with you that my vision for this hospital is one that supports a lifelong dream of mine. I'm grateful to have an opportunity to be associated with a project that will bring meaningful economic impact to this community. It is a pleasure and an honor to be able to create 130 plus jobs for this area. It creates a great opportunity to continue a great working relationship with the Richmond Community College, who are co-located in the Hamlet facility for their simulation lab, in providing clinical rotations and training, which will benefit the community college nursing program. In closing, I would like to publicly thank FirstHealth of the Carolinas for tirelessly collaborating to help us reach this point. We could not have done it without their engagement and commitment. Additionally, FirstHealth of the Carolinas has offered to assist us, as you heard earlier, with the use of a consultant of up to $100,000 specializing in geriatric behavioral health hospital operations. We're thankful for the gesture of partnership and appreciate the added layer of support this engagement can bring to strengthen our efforts in opening Sand Hills Regional Hospital. At this point, I would like to specifically recognize the team from FirstHealth of the Carolinas by name and acknowledge them for their monumental contributions and for the impact their work and this hospital will have on this community and the region for decades to come. Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Mickey Foster, Chief Operating Officer, Mr. Jonathan Davis, Chief Strategy and Innovation Officer, Ms. Amy Graham, FirstHealth Board of Directors, and supporting team members of FirstHealth. At this time, I would like to invite up Dr. Jerry to offer some further comments.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. I'm Dr. Jason Jerry. I'm the medical director of the Department of Psychiatry at FirstHealth of the Carolinas. We are in the midst of a mental health crisis in this country, and I'm sure all of you have seen something about that in the newspaper or on the media. Unfortunately, the geriatric population is kind of caught in the middle of all of this. About 20% of those who are over the age of 60 suffer from mental illness, and yet only about 63% of them are not receiving any help at all. This is extremely concerning when you consider that the individuals over the age of 70 are the demographic that has the highest risk of suicide of any demographic. Unfortunately, our resources in this country are scarce, even for general psychiatry, but for geriatrics, it's extreme. At FirstHealth, we have about 8 boarders, 8 patients sitting in the emergency room at any given time, awaiting transfer to another specialized facility. About 2 of those on average are geriatric patients. We simply do not have the resources to care for those patients ourselves. Our 18-bed unit up at Moore Regional is essentially a crisis stabilization unit for very acute patients who are psychotic, extremely depressed and suicidal, and oftentimes, or usually, below the age of 40 or so. It's not the kind of unit you would want your mother or grandmother on seeking help, you know, when she's in that geriatric age. It's just not safe for geriatric patients, nor do we have the programming to offer the geriatric patients to address their special needs. It is sad to see that we have to transfer these patients out. The closest geriatric facility to us at Moore is 70 miles away in Charlotte. Next closest is 90 miles away up near Raleigh-Durham. Nothing is more heartbreaking for us than to see the spouse of a patient start to cry because they know that they're going to have a difficult time visiting their loved one while they're in the hospital so far away. We'd like to see that change. We'd like to see a resource here where we can safely send our geriatric patients for the much needed specialized treatment that we're just simply unable to offer at this point. Thank you very much, and I'll welcome up Dr. Harmony.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for this opportunity to address this group this evening. My name is Matthew Harmony. I'm an emergency physician. I've been practicing in this area for well over 20 years. I also have had the luxury of serving as the EMS medical director for FirstHealth, which also includes the EMS portion of Hamlet Fire and Rescue. I have had the luxury of being our group's president for the last few years, and that group is Sand Hills Emergency Physicians. We cover all 4 of the emergency departments of FirstHealth, including here at Richmond Memorial Hospital. As has been mentioned previously, and I won't repeat ourselves, there's just a tremendous need in our community that's lacking. I would like to give you a little bit of perspective of what occurs in our emergency departments every day. As Dr. Jerry alluded to, we hold patients for lack of any local or even statewide resources for days and sometimes weeks. And these are folks that are ill-suited for that environment. You can imagine a chaotic and hectic emergency department. It's the last place you'd want someone that's older and has behavioral health issues. They need a calming, reassuring environment for them to do well, and it's absolutely the worst place to be. I sometimes picture my mother who suffered from dementia in that environment, and she would not have fared well at all. This is a tremendous resource to this community. As has been previously mentioned, it'll provide a resource close to home. It'll cut down on family travel. It'll keep patients where they need to be, close to family and loved ones. And I would like to ask for your full support for this very important project to our community. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Dr. Carter. I appreciate it. Anyone else have anything? I've got a couple of just fundamental questions here. I might understand that the actual ownership of the hospital will be changing hands. Is that right, Mr.?
Yes, sir. I'm Jonathan Davis, the Chief Operating Officer. I've been working through with the buyer. So yes, it'll be changing hands, and with an expected date of sometime into September, 1st of October.
Okay.
Of this year? Yes, sir. It's pending this decision for the lender, because they've got to change the zoning and the definition of hospital to be able to carry the service forward in the hospitals.
Okay. Question for Mr. Peterkin. Does your company have any other programs right now, or is this going to be the only one?
This will be the only program.
This will be your first program.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I believe I understood that RCC will continue to be able to do their nursing training over there. Is that correct?
That is
Dr.
correct.
McInnes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That was all I had. I just need to get those things worked out. Thank you, sir.
Can
Quite
I
welcome.
ask a
You
question?
certainly can.
I have one that read up here in this very fine presentation up here for genetic health. It says down here for emergency rooms of altered mental status. What is the altered mental status?
Altered mental status is whenever a patient cease to exist or I guess communicate with you under their normal conditions. Let's just say throughout the day, you know, their daily activities of living have changed where they're not able to function properly or they're not able to take care of themselves, where they may be, I don't know, communicating inappropriately. They basically, they're not able to communicate themselves, communicate their thoughts appropriately, or conduct themselves or take care of themselves in a manner where they may be exemplifying something that may be harmful to themselves.
Harmful to themselves?
Could you add to that?
Yeah, if I could chime in. Altered mental status means anything basically out of the ordinary, normal brain function. It can be being disoriented, not knowing what date, time, or year it is. It can involve being psychotic. It can involve a number of different things. It's really kind of a broad term.
That is. And it comes back here and you said the average stay per patient will be 10 to 14 days. What will happen after the 10 to 14 days?
Well, sometimes you do have patients that may need care for longer than 14 days. So if they need care that extends longer than 14 days, then we'll treat them. But the average stay is 10 to 14 days.
Okay, thank you. That clears me up. Thank you very much for that
You're
good
welcome.
answer and a good presentation.
Thank you.
I've got just a couple of questions.
Mr. Peterkin.
Were you asking?
No, I was asking.
Oh, no, well, probably,
Medical question or his question?
yeah, probably one for you, but for the FirstHealth folks. I totally agree with your assessment that this is something that's needed, but I'm just interested, why didn't FirstHealth want to take on this project?
Yeah.
Just give us some feedback on that as to why the establishment of the FirstHealth that's got everything in place, and I'd just like to hear that.
Yeah, great question, and thank you for asking that question. I think we have a lot of projects in kind of motion. With our cancer center, we have a central energy plant. We're looking at a women's tower. We have a lot of projects in place that have come through really our community needs assessment, including lots of clinics and growth in clinics and expansion to provide access to care in places that don't even have primary care. And so we've been very focused in a strategic plan looking at how do we expand our services and grow. I think the challenge is we saw this as a need. I actually did a study a few years ago which showed this as a need, even looking at Hamlet as that opportunity. It was just an issue of volume of work. And so we have now someone who's willing to take on that work and focus their time and effort on this project, and it seemed like a great win to us. And so, and then the opportunity, again, as our CEO, Mickey Foster, said, we feel the opportunity to partner for them because we need it. As you heard earlier in the ER and the holds, we're the benefactor, right? All the patients that come to us and can get better care than being in our ER. So I would say this has been a journey for us. It has been on our agenda. It's just now we've allowed to add a lot of energy to this effort and find a partner to be successful in that work. So,
Well, I know Mr. Peterkin from where he's at now, and everything out there is very good. I enjoyed talking to you out there one time not long ago. You've seen the business model. You think it's going to be a successful opportunity for success in the current state? Yes,
I think that what I know specifically is, number one, there is a need. So if you look at any business model, we'll just take it as a business itself. You need customer base. We have plenty across the state, even outside of our state. There are plenty of patients that have this need. So that's number one. Number two is you'd say, well, if it's a customer, does the customer have the ability to pay? Every single patient's a Medicare patient. Everyone is going to pay. And so those are the two drivers. I would say the third is workforce. And so I think that will be a challenge, but it is not a unique challenge to this effort versus probably any industry in any community in the country. I'd say healthcare is even in some respects a bit easier to recruit to because, staff are paid well, they're good paying jobs, they can move up the ladder from one level of kind of job profile or specialty into another. So I think the recipe for success is absolutely here. We're going to work hard to help the buyer, and we'll give it our best shot.
I guess my only real question there, and you can see it for the people of Hamlet, is we just don't want the building and grounds to go down.
Absolutely,
And that would be horrendous.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I think that is.
It's going to be expensive to upkeep it. Well, you know, you're already upkeeping it.
Yeah, I think that is where, we had a lot of internal dialogue is looking at the facility, and I would say today, our challenge is it's vacant, it's not used, and like anything else that sits vacant and isn't used, the future doesn't look good for that. And so, to me, we got a great opportunity ahead of us. God forbid it's not successful and right back where we started, but, there's really not a lot of harm in that effort. So I think we're going to try to give it 100% and do what we can to make sure we can support this organization.
Last thing is just not a question, just a statement. So whenever I first heard about this, the main thing that I had that I wanted to make sure was what we were going to encounter through our emergency services, the police, the fire and things like that. And I'm not going to kid you. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I had made my mind up until I probably walked in this door. And I appreciate the fact that y'all have offered us this grant. That went a long way with me. I don't know about anybody else. But I really had a strong, nothing against the FirstHealth, nothing against Mr. Peterkin and his group. I think they're two great entities. I think hopefully y'all will continue to work together even after the sale. But from the standpoint of me making decisions, what would cost our residents in the long term, in terms of the police going out there, I mean, it's all we can do to get police here to actually have enough to answer calls for service with our citizens. And I was really concerned about that. So the grant made a really big impression on me, and that led me to the point where I'm going to support this adventure. And I had not made that decision until about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So I want to thank everybody for coming together, working together. Mr. Peterkin's got a monumental deal getting ready to happen. And I hope that we, the city, and y'all as well, can be there to help and make sure he is successful. Because he's putting his sweat equity in. He's putting his time, his money. When other people didn't, or for whatever reason didn't do it, that man's doing it. And I really think it'll work. I think it'll work. Thanks to everybody that was involved in the process.
Thank you for your trust and faith in us. And, I think as a nonprofit organization, looking for partners, as our CEO said earlier, that doesn't stop with the transition of a building. We'll continue to do that and make sure our community is well taken care of. So thank you for the trust.
Mr. Stewart, did you have comments?
Just probably one question. I got a couple comments. Anything else major stands in the way other than tonight and lending to make this go?
We'll have, so there are a few steps required. Mr. Peterkin mentioned that. So there's licensing, there's a CMS survey to reach your deemed status. You have to really receive the licensing and have your conditions of participation survey, and without that, you really can't build, so you can't open. So those are the only real requirements, and I say only. They are challenges. We have surveyors in the building this week in every FirstHealth campus. It is part of our annual survey. They're there for 4 days. They validate our work. They look at those regulations, and they go visually validate and verify, look at our policies, et cetera, and that won't be any different than for this organization as well, and we'll work to help them be successful in that effort as well, so.
So just a few comments, being a native of Hamlet, having been a caretaker and continue to be. I thank you guys for this. I thank Mr. Peterkin for investing in his community. Just a couple things I want to hold you to. Education is very near to me, to my heart. RCC is very near and dear to me. I want to make sure that we hold you to that as far as the clinicals for the college. We continue to educate our students, and that is major for me for this project. The other part is hiring local people. I know you all will have to bring some people from other areas for certain things, but I definitely want to hold you to making sure that those 100 and something jobs, that a good portion of those jobs are for local residents of Richmond County. But thank you, and I appreciate it, and I'm in full support.
Ms. Covington, did you have any comments or questions?
I've had an opportunity to ask an awful lot of questions and have gotten what I consider to be totally satisfactory answers, but I just want to say that I think a lot of the issues that have been raised and discussed tonight were on everybody's mind, and FirstHealth and Mr. Peterkin have been very forthcoming with information, and I'm sure we can continue this kind of dialogue into the future. But I appreciate all of the effort that's been put into this by all of the players, FirstHealth, buyers, the application process that they've already initiated, the money they've already invested, the faith in our community, and I really think in the end it won't be without hiccups, but I think in the end it's going to be a win-win for not only the patients and the people they serve, but for the community that it'll be placed in. And I'm sure the city of Hamlet is going to do everything they can to push this venture forward successfully, and I support it entirely. And otherwise, I wouldn't be here on vacation.
Okay.
On the phone.
Thank you. We appreciate your presentation tonight, and we're behind you on this. And so you've got whatever help you need from us, you let us know, and we'll continue on with this. Now, we're doing this a little different on the vote tonight, as we have one member who is on the telephone. So tonight we'll be having roll call votes, so it'll take maybe a little bit longer. Council, at this time, I'll close the public hearing if I don't have anyone else that has anything. Okay. Yes, sir.
Is there any attendees in opposition of this, of the mental health hospital?
I don't know. It's open. Okay. All right. The public hearing is closed. At this time, we have before us the consistency statement and decision that has to be done. At this time, I would ask the council for a motion to adopt the consistency statement indicating that the proposed text amendment and zonings are in accordance with the City of Hamlet zoning ordinance.
Make
So
a motion.
moved.
Make a motion that we adopt the consistency.
Okay, I got a motion and a second from Ms. Covington. All right. Are there any other comments about it at this time? If not, I'll do a roll call vote. Ms. Covington?
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Stewart?
Aye.
Mr. Sellers?
Aye.
Mr. McQueen?
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries on that. The next item is item number 7A, which is consideration of FirstHealth's grant award that you heard him speaking of a while ago.
Excuse me, Mayor.
We've got to do the decision.
Oh, okay. All right. See, that's what I said. Keep an eye on me tonight. All right, I need a motion on the text amendments and the rezonings.
I move that we adopt.
All right.
Second.
Okay, motion from Ms. Covington, second from Mr. Stewart. And I'll ask for a roll call vote on that. Ms. Covington?
Aye.
Mr. Stewart?
Aye.
Mr. Sellers?
Aye.
Mr. McQueen?
Yes.
All right. I'm online now. Am I good? Good that we have an excellent city clerk. Okay, the item here has to do with the grant award. Mr. Foster, would you like to make comments on this? Either of you, it doesn't matter.
Rezoning goes through and,
Just exactly
and the
what
sale
it
goes
is.
through. Well, John May, if you want to comment on that too as well, but, no, we just thought it would, let's put $500,000 forward for you guys to spend on public safety if you feel like there's going to be any concerns going forward with any additional costs. So, both attorneys have reviewed that. I think you guys have a copy of that. If not, we'll make sure you get a copy of that. And,
We graciously appreciate the offer on this.
no, I think we want to be fair to this community. We don't want to be a burden on this community. We want
And
us
in
to
the,
win.
in the presentation, thank you for the wheels and the wheel knots, because that's mitigated a lot.
That's legal speak there. So you guys got good counsel, and we have good counsel. That makes a big difference.
But the actual effective date of this grant will be when the hospital actually opens. And right now, we're looking at January of 2024. Am I
Right,
correct? Okay.
correct, yeah.
So
So-
people would understand instead of saying, where's the money? Council, is there any other questions on this? If none at all right, I would ask for a motion to accept the grant award.
Make a motion that
So
we
moved.
accept.
Okay, I got a motion from Mr. McQueen, a second from Ms. Covington. All in favor, let it know. No, let's go back to my, all right, Ms. Covington,
Aye.
Mr. Stewart,
Aye.
Mr. Sellers,
Aye.
Mr. McQueen.
Yes.
All in favor, okay. Okay. That takes care of all of her FirstHealth stuff. Now, we're good. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. You're always welcome. Mr. Smart, it's good to see you. Dr. McKinnis, Mr. Gerald. Yes, sir. Got to make sure that the RCC is taken care of. Thank you. Thank you.
That's right. That,
Boy, I don't know how I got through that thing.
I was on, but that convinced me.
All right, we have gone through 7 and 7A so far, haven't we? Okay, our next item of business is, got more pages there than I need. Next item of business is fee schedule update. Mr. Christian, would you like to make comments here and give us some idea of what we're doing?
Yes, Mayor, I'll make a brief comment. When we adopted the fee schedule this year, there was one error that was unintentional, so we're correcting that. It's the baseball registration fee. I believe that had been adopted by council specifically in the past as $35, and the tackle football for $35. So those were omissions that were just errors, so we're going to correct those to go back to what council had actually adopted in the past. The only other change is the increase to the notary fee, which was just approved by state statute from $5 to $10. Those are the only changes proposed in the fee schedule.
All right, council, what are your wishes on these fees?
I have a question about
go
that.
ahead.
It's this,
Go ahead.
about the football and the baseball. What about the soccer?
It's correct.
Yeah, the soccer is correct. I believe they're all $35.
Okay, now what about, they come in, what about for the siblings? Is there gonna be a discount for siblings?
No, there's not. My understanding is that's something
All
that
done
had
before,
been done
yeah.
in the past. The problem with that is, verifying that is challenging, especially when you have multi-generational households and modern families, for lack of a better term, where policing that is somewhat difficult. So we just charge everyone the same.
But if they come, if the parent has a valid birth certificate and it's sealed and it's notarized, isn't that enough proof?
That's a question for the city council.
I think we ought to stay where we are. I don't think there should be everybody should pay.
Everybody,
Yeah.
no discount if they got more than one child to play.
It costs the same thing, no matter how many children you got, as far as, operate the program, especially football.
Yeah. Well, I disagree. I think we ought to have a discount program that's more
How long has it been since we did away with the
Several
sibling
years.
discount? It's been,
That's a question for Gail.
I'm going to say it's probably been 7 years or so.
7 years.
The
was
problem
really
with,
putting an undue
yeah, the
burden
problem
on
with
the city.
that is they would have to bring a birth certificate every time they come and sign up for a sport, and they're not going to do that. And then you've got staff trying to decide when they've got different last names. They're born 3 months apart, but they're siblings. And you're getting in people's personal business by trying to ask a question of how they're siblings. It makes it difficult on staff.
It does, makes it horrible on staff.
It does. It makes it difficult on staff without saying, how can this possibly be? And we just,
So to simplify it, just charge every player.
that was
the same.
council's decision
That-
about
okay.
7 years ago, rather than put staff through that, and people were just not telling the truth. And it just caused so many problems. They said, we'll just be the same for each one.
That answers my
So
question.
the only fee that's changing is the ones y'all have lines through?
Yes, that's correct.
Since we're on this thing, let me just ask this question. Are we making any attempt to notify these people that are not putting their trash in the trash cans to put it in the city cans?
Yes.
People are doing that. You ride all over town. They got stuff sitting in
Yes, they are.
their own little cans or laying out on the side of the road.
Entertainment
and
centers and
somebody
couches
needs to
don't
tell
fit.
them, it isn't going to get picked up if it's not in the city can.
Yep,
We're
and,
picking it up, that's the problem.
No, we're not either, not in some cases.
yeah, in some cases, we were making contact with these
Yeah.
property owners, and in some
Well,
cases,
something
I've even
notified.
personally seen where, you know, even a garbage can, a city can is full of building materials
saw one of those
overflowing, you
the other
know,
day.
and then a couple weeks later, they get a trailer, and so you hopefully, we are making contact, and hopefully some of those issues are
So
resolved.
when do you anticipate that being fully enforced?
Well, right now, we are enforcing what we discussed last time as far as building materials. And we are going to send out notice, and I informed City Council this.
Building materials, things like that's not gonna be,
Yeah, that'll be picked up, but it won't be picked up by the garbage truck.
Right. Or if
Or
it's,
if it's done by a contractor, it won't be picked up.
if it's not an eligible item, it's not getting picked up. There's some on my street right now that hadn't got picked up in 2 weeks. So, I mean, I know that, at least in my neighborhood, they're not picking that up because of what it
so
is.
tell me what we're not gonna pick up.
I'd have to have the list
If
in
they
front of
got
me,
it,
but
yeah.
building material, construction
the guys are
debris,
having-
tires, batteries, there's a list of things that are not
Can
eligible.
you email that out to us?
Yes.
But the
And we're
garbage
actually
truck-
going to send that out with our tax bills this year. We're going to send out in the tax bill, this is the eligible item. And at the last meeting, I said we would do that with postal codes, or we looked at water bills. The problem with those is those throw a net out there that.
I read that, I didn't really understand. what
Yeah,
you're talking about, so.
well, that's what it is, and we're gonna notify all of our taxpayers what items are eligible and what items are not, because all taxpayers are eligible for those services, and that's gonna go out later in the month.
And, yeah, the idea is that you got two garbage men on a garbage truck. They go out, they pick the cans up with a hydraulic lift. If there's other cans sitting out there, they can't, then they gotta break the back and pick that stuff up for a trash can.
They leave those.
And it just slows the route down, it hurts our employees. And,
I agree.
it's nothing against the people, but they just need to be a little more cooperative.
Another thing about it too, not picking up what they are not gonna pick up, when they trim up the landscape of the yard, and they don't put the, bushes, they put it in the right of way of the streets. Now, that's against the codes, and they'll cut them down, rake them up, but they don't want it on the property, they're gonna put it on the street. I think there ought to be some kind of penalty for that. And it doesn't matter who puts it out there, if the property owner or if the people doing the landscaping work. They're hired done. If they're getting it for a profit, they ought to have better sense of leaving the road and for the vehicular traffic to come by and have to run over it.
Yeah, we're making every effort to enforce all of these issues. I
Okay.
think in some cases, the enforcement is really the crux of it all.
Yes.
So wherever
never-
you can assist or the public can assist us, if you call me, or if you call the police department, or if you call code enforcement, or if you call the city shop, if you see something going on, call us. We're here to help, and we'll do everything we can address all of these matters.
I never will understand why the county charges people that live in the city a county garbage fee. If you live just across the line outside the city, you don't get that garbage fee, but I pay the same taxes that people outside do. Why am I charged $170 a year on county taxes for garbage?
Amen.
Plus what I pay monthly. Just doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
But that's, can't do anything about that. Anyway, here we are. I need the motion on the Hamlet fee schedule.
Make a motion, we approve the changes as presented.
Second.
All right, I'll ask for a roll call vote. Ms. Covington? Hello?
She's probably not on.
She's not on now? Okay, then I'll just ask for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
I'm here.
You here? All right, okay. What is your vote on this?
On the fee change.
Schedule change, fee schedule. Okay, you're, aye, all right. Okay, and Mr. Sellers?
Yes.
And Mr. McQueen?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, next item of business is down here on whatever page I'm on. Consideration of RFQ for planning services. Manager has prepared a memo with information on the RFQs for planning services. Would you like to cover that, Mr.?
Sure, yeah. I'll just mention briefly, the city solicited requests from qualified firms for assistance with various planning services, including comprehensive plan, code development, site plans, a wide range of services that we're seeking assistance with. The purpose of the qualifications process is to identify those firms, and then after an award is made, to select which ones we want to work with. We will begin negotiations with them for specific projects that we may have in the city, and those projects or those contracts for those projects would have to come back to City Council for specific approval. So all that we're approving tonight is which firms that we want to work with. I recommend 2 firms. We received 5 responses. I think, frankly, they're all qualified, so they all put together really great responses. But we must narrow the field, and there were 2 firms that stood out to me. One is a firm out of Durham called CodeWrite. They're kind of a smaller firm, and I've had some discussions and after reviewing their proposal, and I think they would be really great to work with. And then a larger firm that stood out was Withers Ravenel. They're a company that's assisted us in the past, and they are, as a larger firm, some of the larger firms have different strengths and weaknesses than the smaller firms. So I think picking 2 would give us an opportunity to maybe highlight some of those strengths and weaknesses on various projects. So that's my recommendation to City Council, is to select CodeWrite and Withers Ravenel as qualified firms for planning services.
Okay, anybody else? Anybody got questions for the manager on this? Ms. Covington, you got any? Hello?
Already talked about.
Okay, the only questions I've got is I don't want to see us go hog wild on planning stuff and then we don't carry through on it. That's just wasted money.
Couldn't agree more.
That's the main thing on that. Council, what are your wishes on this, on Withers Ravenel and CodeWrite planners?
Commissioner, we follow the lead of city manager to use those 2 firms.
Got a motion?
Do we need a motion for that?
Yeah, I got to have a vote on it.
Do you vote or motion?
We're selecting both as qualified.
Yeah.
Any engagements for actual projects or spending any money, we'll have to talk more about that depending on the value of it, but
Just approving the 2 firms.
but we're selecting them as qualified so that we can begin to negotiate what their hourly rates are, what projects, what is the nature of the service, and any service contract would have to come back to City Council for approval.
All right, a second.
Well, that's what I go to follow the lead on the city manager on this.
Yeah, all right, so I've got a second from you?
Yeah, I got a
All right,
second.
Okay. I'll do a roll call vote on it. Ms. Covington?
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Stewart? Aye. Mr. Sellers?
Yes.
Mr. McQueen?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor, thank you. have before us at this time, consideration for contract for GIS services. The city attorney has drafted a contract for council's consideration. You give us an explanation?
Yes, sir, Mayor. You all remember Chris McDonald, who presented last week about the disc golf park. After that meeting, you know, I'd worked with Chris a couple of times talking about the disc golf park, but Chris is very talented, and I think we have some pretty basic GIS needs that he could help us with. So I sat down and asked him if he was interested in helping us out. And if so, you know, what would he need to charge us to give us some of his time and his energy? And we put together this contract. And I think that just so you understand the nature of what we're going to do, this would be to, like when we do a rezoning, update our zoning map. If we have a project that we need Public Works to work on, you know, he could prepare us a little site map for that. We probably wouldn't work more than 1 or 2 hours at a time on probably a relatively infrequent basis. But Chris is willing to help us, and this contract would establish clear terms for our engagement to assist the city of Hamlet with GIS services.
Okay.
He's 1 or 2 hours at a time, but how many times a month would he be working?
I would say a month, probably less than once a month on average. I mean, I'd say, you know, how many rezonings we do a year. I mean, the main thing we need him to do is just to update our zoning map. You know, what happens is, you know, our zoning map, we change it periodically, and we don't have the software or the resources in-house to keep that map up to date. So this would help us keep it up to date as we make these changes. And we don't do a rezoning every month. So that would be the bulk of our work, but if we did want to do, say, something with the, you know, we've talked about the lot across the street, commonly referred to as the A&P lot. Like if we wanted some help with that, mapping that out, maybe help exploring some ideas, he could do us a basic map for that if we called on him to do so. Things like that. It just depends. But I would say on average, once a month or less, probably. 10 times a year.
Well, if the city doesn't have the resources for it, then I think this would be a good idea to accept this at the time. But when it comes back in, but how long would the contract run for?
It would run until either party terminates it.
To either party?
Either party.
And the city could terminate it at any time?
Yeah, it says
Good.
5 days. Written notice to the vendor of its intent to terminate the contract, and then it says notwithstanding, the contract may be terminated by either party for any reason or none at all upon 30 days written notice to the other. So either party could terminate within.
Well, it sounds like we don't have the resources for it, and it'd be very helpful. I think it's a good idea.
So to the attorney, basically, any contract between two people
Yeah.
in North Carolina can be ended in 30 days, is that pretty much?
I wouldn't say that's like a common law, but it's pretty standard.
Pretty accepted.
And this one just kind of, and you might even propose the 5 days. I mean, really, once the city says, hey, we don't,
Right.
might have software or something else, we just don't need your services, then it's just 5 days notice within 30 days for.
Looks like it'd be a great service to the city to me.
Gail, you didn't have a note on here. Does that not need a vote?
It does.
Okay. All right, then what I do is ask for a vote to approve the contract with Mr. Christopher McDonald for GIS services.
I make a motion.
Have a motion from Mr. Sellers.
Second.
Okay, second from Ms. Covington. I'll ask for a roll call vote. Ms. Covington?
Aye.
Mr. Stewart? Aye. Mr. Sellers?
Aye.
Mr. McQueen?
Yes.
All in favor? Thank you. Next item, item number 11. Remember, the manager's prepared a memo to provide discussion to the board for a purchasing policy. Go ahead. It's
So,
complicated.
excuse me, and after, you know, for the past couple of years, we haven't done any capital purchasing at all. And in doing so, upon the implementation of the 22-23 budget, I was reviewing the purchasing policy and noticed a couple of things that I feel like, I think the best way to put it is, you know, in the current climate, to have certain extra requirements for purchasing items below $30,000 is a little bit cumbersome. And I would like to consider lifting those extra requirements and just refer to the general statutes, which we're following anyways. The other issue, so that's kind of one issue. The other issue is a clear exception for, or clear exception from the purchasing process for things that we're required to pay, like utility bills, lawyer fees, things of that nature. Because a strict reading of the policy currently, kind of our practice kind of puts us at odds with the policy, where, you know, if we get a bill for, you know, a $2,000 power bill, which is not unheard of, you know, technically, based on our current policy, we're required to do a purchase order for that. But this outlines several specific things that would be clearly excluded from the purchasing, purchase order procedures and the purchasing policy, I guess, more generally. So those are the kind of the two key issues that are outlined in the memo. And I'd be happy to take any questions or provide clarification if needed.
Does anyone have any questions on this or comments about the purchasing process?
I think page 2 on this report kind of tells it all to me.
It does. Mm-hmm.
Page 2 is fine, and I agree with it.
Okay, I need a motion.
I make a motion, we approve it.
Okay, I need a second. Have a second from Mr. Stewart. I'll ask for a roll call vote. Ms. Covington? Ms. Covington?
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Stewart?
Aye.
Mr. Sellers?
Yes.
Mr. McQueen?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Next item of business is the tax releases. What are your wishes on that, council, tax releases?
Move that we approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Motion from Ms. Covington, second from Mr. McQueen. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise.
Aye.
Thank you. I got her. We're good. All right, we have item number 8 is the tax collector's annual settlement per NC statutes. Do we want to accept the submitted tax settlement? Do I have a motion from, do I have a motion from you, Mr. Stewart?
I make a motion, we
I got a
accept it.
motion from Mr. Sellers.
Second.
Got a second from Ms. Covington. All right. This is to accept the tax collector's annual settlement. I'll ask for a roll call vote on it. Ms. Covington?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Mr. Sellers?
Aye.
And Mr. McQueen?
Yes.
Okay. Have quite a few people that owe us taxes. Now we move to item number 14, which is an order of collection for the tax collector that requires the municipal governing board to adopt and enter in the minutes an order directing the tax collector to collect the taxes charged in the tax records and receipts. What are your wishes on that, council?
Motion, we set this to the tax collector, city of Hamlet.
I second.
Got a motion, I've got a second, and I will ask for a roll call vote. Ms. Covington?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Mr. Sellers?
Aye.
Mr. McQueen?
Yes.
Thank you. Tell the tax collector to go find it. Attempt to. Okay.
You know what why he's doing that, you know what our rate is, collection rate now? Offhand?
I'm not sure exactly. I believe it's in the packet. And I know we'll get a revised section.
There was something in the package, but it's in that big package, and I have to dig through it.
For 2021, it is 94.74. And since 2005, well,
It's come down a little bit over the.
But it's gone back up.
over the
yeah,
past-
but
had to be
again, we'll get new data from the prior fiscal year upon the conclusion of the audit, which actually occurs, the field works next week.
Tonight, I'm pleased to make a mayoral proclamation, whereas a biennial reunion of the Capitol Highway and Monroe Avenue High School will be held on September the 2nd through September the 4th in Hamlet, North Carolina. Whereas these schools were in operation during the period of 1929 to 1968, prior to the integration of the Richmond County Public Schools. And whereas the City of Hamlet extends a warm welcome to all those associated with this reunion, now therefore, as Mayor of the City of Hamlet, it gives me great pleasure to proclaim September the 2nd through September the 4th of 2022 as Capitol Highway High School and Monroe Avenue High School weekend in Hamlet, North Carolina, and extend best wishes for many more happy and productive reunions in the future. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Hamlet to be affixed this 9th day of August of 2022.
Good
And
deal.
each one of the participants will actually
Yes.
receive a copy of this. And we are certainly glad to have them. Let's keep that going.
Well, I just hope the tradition continues because it's a long time and, hand it down.
Item number 16 is a reappointment to the Hamlet Planning and Zoning Board. Mr. Tony Cluis's term with the Planning Board expires September the 11th of 2022. He was first appointed to the board in 2018, and they have requested that he be reappointed.
Make a motion, we appoint Tony Cluis.
I second.
Okay. I'll ask for a roll call vote. Ms. Covington? Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Mr. Sellers?
Yes.
Mr. McQueen?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor. Very good. Thank you.
Bill, did Abby reply?
Ma'am?
Did Abby answer?
Yes.
She did answer.
Abby, did you reply aye?
I didn't hear.
I don't know if she's still there.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, I've got you good.
Abby, are you for Tony Cluis reappointment?
Yes, I am, very much.
I thought I heard you say it. Okay, we've got a
Which
mayor.
way I turn my head.
All right. Got a mayoral reappointment to the Hamlet Housing Authority. Mr. Oz Queen's term on the Hamlet Housing Authority will expire September the 15th of 2022. The director has requested that the mayor reappoint Mr. Queen for another 5-year term. So at this time, I will appoint Mr. Oz Queen for the next 5-year term.
I make a motion, we reappoint him.
You don't need to. That's
It's already done.
Yeah, that's the mayoral. Okay, at this time, we'll move along to item number 18, the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to invite everyone to come out on Friday to the depot for some food trucks. We'll have one more of those in the month of August, on August 26th. Those are always fun events, so please come out. The Seaboard Festival is actively recruiting craft vendors. We're not taking any more food vendors, but you can apply to be a craft vendor if you're still interested. The Boxcar Concert Series will resume in September. We had great success with that in the last couple of months, and we look forward to bringing that back in the fall as well. So currently, right now, we have the Jonathan Robinson Band scheduled on September 25th, and Anthony Russell's Jazz Band on October 23rd. So those are a little further out, but just to put those dates on your calendar. We will be closed for Labor Day on September 5th, I believe. I'm going to confirm that date quickly. Yes, September the 5th, City Hall will be closed. And last but not least, we always talk about how much we appreciate our city employees, which I know we all do, but I wanted to congratulate Mr. Vic Robinson on his 40th year of service with the city of Hamlet. That is an astounding achievement, and I think everyone knows Vic, and his dedication to the city is second to none. And so I just wanted to publicly congratulate him for reaching that very important milestone.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anybody got any questions for city manager?
What about yoga? Is that still on?
I couldn't hear you, I'm sorry.
Yoga in the park still going on?
Yes, I believe it's the third Thursday, but it's always promoted on Facebook, so if I'm wrong about that, we can verify that.
I saw it posted.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move along to comments from council. I'll start off. Ms. Covington, you have comments for us tonight?
Just thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this.
Okay.
Thank you for doing it.
Yeah, thank you for doing it.
Yeah.
Been a heavy calendar. Mr. Stewart?
I'll just say, city manager, we were on the same page. I actually asked Mr. Vic, 40, are you sure? It's been 40 years. That's astounding. So I want to publicly thank him for being with the city for 40 years. That's amazing. And then on our website, if we can change the meeting to 6, it still shows 7 on the website.
I think he updated this week.
Yeah,
Okay,
I saw
'cause
it on there. I saw it at 6
Is it
o'clock.
updated?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna
'Cause
check
I
right
looked
now.
today, and it showed. So if that's changed, that's fine.
I just saw it on
Absolutely.
the city council Facebook.
And again, thanks to our city workers and to the people that always come to our city manager meeting, city official meetings. We appreciate it. Want to see all these seats filled one day.
Yes.
Thank you. They were almost filled today.
Mr. Sellers?
I'd just like to thank the city manager, city clerk, for all the hard work and working with the FirstHealth group. I'd like to thank the attendees for coming, their input. I'd like to see more. I agree with Mr. Stewart. We'd like to have them. And I'd like to thank the mayor for a good meeting tonight, and I apologize for my tardiness. That's all my comments.
Got by it. Mr. McQueen?
Vic, I mean, what can you say other than, wow, great guy, you won't find a better guy, and he gives his all to the city and loves the city.
Yeah.
I would like to see us focus a little bit more on the right-of-ways, the entrances, Memorial Park up front, the park up at McDonald where the sign and all that is up that way. I know it's something that's really, really hard to keep up in the grass cutting time and things like that, but everybody that rides through makes that impression, and we're already fighting the impression of some of the people's homes.
Yeah.
Let's be the lead in trying to set the example, and not that it's horrible, but it could use some attention. And also just thanks to the folks that's been coming for a long time. That really shows your dedication to not only your neighborhood, but to your community.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Can I read something? Yeah. I'd like to come up in front of City Hall here at the end when we were coming out, and the way we were parking it at an angle, when you're coming up from, is that Champlain Street there? When you're coming up there, you almost have to pull almost to the city, middle of the street to see the traffic coming from the west. I'd like to see to take and make parallel parking instead of an angle parking, put the parallel parking there, and it'd make a better view for the people, for the motorists to see, if that's a possibility. Take 3 or 4 of those angle spots and make parallel parking, and maybe that'll help people like me to see better. That's it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Want to wish everybody a good Labor Day. We've had a good hot summer. Maybe it'll start cooling off a little bit, but mostly I don't think we've been outside the heat ranges that are for Hamlet and Richmond County for normally, other than a few days it got over 100. But, we all get used to air conditioning, so we're not used to going outside of it. But I hope everybody's had a really good summer. Things are going well with the city. City manager, city clerk, and all the city employees are doing a fantastic job. If it wasn't for them, it wouldn't be any point in us sitting up here. They keep the city running. And, I guess sometimes it's kind of a thankless job because they do one thing and have to turn right around and do the same thing somewhere else. But we do appreciate them, and I hope they know that. That's all I have got tonight. I would ask at this time for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay. Ms. Covington? Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Ms. Sellers?
Yes.
And Mr. McQueen?
Yes.
Okay.